now. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm Rodd Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Good morning. How you guys doing? It's cold here, and I'm still at the house. You can see my doggies here. But anyway, no, Boomer, stop. I'm on air now. Now that I'm on air, he wants to get all up in me here. Good morning and welcome to Insights and Straight Talk. If you couldn't tell already, I'm Rodd Duff here with producer Barbie, and today's conversation has been one that I've been looking forward to for several reasons, but mainly because it cuts straight through the noise of modern media, modern business, and frankly, modern life. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment because the show doesn't happen by accident, okay? It happens because of partners and sponsors who believe that education, long-form conversation, and truth still matter. We're powered by supporters who understand that the great middle class doesn't need hype. We need clarity, tools, and systems that actually work. If you believe in independent media, thoughtful dialogue, and conversations that respect your intelligence, the best way to support us is simple. Subscribe, share, engage. That's how this system stays independent. That's how this stays real. Now let's talk about why today matters. We live in an economy where attention is everywhere, but trust is rare. Everyone's chasing views, everyone's chasing followers, everyone's chasing reach, but very few people are building authority. And that's the difference. Attention is rented, authority is owned. That's why today's guest is such a strong fit for this audience. Joining us is Adarsh Mishra, founder of AM & Company, a global content strategy firm working at the intersection of institutional leadership, finance, media, and the attention economy. Adarsh has operated inside rooms where decisions are made carefully, slowly, and with consequences. He's helped leaders and institutions answer questions that most creators never have to think about. How do you build trust that doesn't evaporate? Right? How do you convert attention into something durable? And how do you grow without becoming dependent on paid exposure? And here's what makes this conversation different. Adarsh isn't guessing. No. He's not theorizing. He isn't selling shortcuts either. He's been inside high-stakes environments working on content IPs, narrative systems, and authority frameworks for organizations that cannot afford to get this wrong. Today, we're going to talk about several things, okay? Why organic authority is the only sustainable moat left, why vanity metrics quietly destroy long-term value, how leaders and founders should be thinking about content, not as marketing, but as infrastructure, and how AI is changing the way institutions understand trust, sentiment, and audience behavior. This is not a how to go viral conversation. This is more of a how to build something that lasts conversation. If you're a founder, a leader, a creator, or a professional navigating a noisy frickin' economy, this episode is for you. So grab your coffee, grab your tea, maybe some sambuca, lean in. And now, let's get into this. How you doing, Adarsh? Did I say your name right? We were going through the stuff and I missed it or got it?
Not at all, not at all. You were quite correct about this. And good morning, America. Excited to be speaking to all of you. I
Hey,
know it's morning
by
in
the way,
America. Uh,
we have 162 people on already here. Obviously, eating lunch,
wow, wow.
or breakfast, they say. So, yeah, you're
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
What
Lunch
nine? It's
time, I
nine
believe.
thirty out there with you. It's 9:30 out there by you, isn't it? In India, right?
Yeah, correct.
So one thing I didn't tell you, and one thing I really like, and the audience really likes, is they're coming in and kind of getting themselves together. Um, we didn't talk about. I'd like you to kind of, what's the journey? How did you get into this space? You know, you're on a journey now, but there was a journey that put you on that journey that now has put you with us, or us here in America, and chatting about what you do. I know you're very familiar with America. You work with America all the time. But
Yeah.
how did you get here? Some people have gone back to birth.
Sure,
I don't know.
sure.
You have to do that, but
I'm not sure that is needed, but first of all, thank you so much, Rod, for the platform.
you bet.
I'm very excited to be speaking to all of you. To be very honest, I think this all stems from the need of, sort of solving for attention, sort of solving a problem statement that there is. And I somehow figured out very early on, back in 2016 or something, that I want to be on this platform called YouTube. And to be very honest, YouTube was very at very nascent stages in India back in the day. And that's when I realized, ki, hey, this is something I could try on. Be a creator, be in front of the camera. And I was extrovert myself all my life, sort of being the class clown, as you say. So try doing YouTube myself. And I'm a bit of a perfectionist. Like, if I enter your house, Rod, uh, with your permission, of course, if I see a frame that is tilted, if I see a frame that is tilted, I like to fix it. There is something innate in me that tells me, ki, hey, if let's say Rod's Instagram username is Rodd Duff 1526, I don't like it. Can it be more professional? Can it be more shorter? Because I want a better recall. So these kind of things, I think, and while I was a creator myself, I noticed that around me, people were not taking it as seriously, right? And somewhere in back of my mind, it was, wherever the attention flows, the money flows. We have seen that in the past. So I was like, hey, why don't I jump the bandwagon and start, working with these creators and helping them, grow. So that's what I actually started doing. I in fact came up with my own venture, wherein the plan was to, let's say Rod is a creator that I really am excited about, but maybe after a point he could plateau. So can I be in the position to understand, hey, how can we, let's say, plan the next 20 years of Rod Duff or the IP that he builds, insights and straight talk. So we sort of form an LLP, and then we share revenue, and that those kind of things I planned out. But I think I was pretty early in that journey, and pretty early for that was pretty early for the market as well. So it did not really quite fly. And that's why I was like, hey, let's go out and work with people who have been big in the industry. And that's why I started reaching out to the few of the folks that I'd already been in touch with. One of the guys, Beer Biceps, he is currently, I think, over 20 million plus subscribers and followers all over India. He
20
also is
million?
in basically podcasts. And to be very honest, infotainment and podcast is a space. Yes. Yeah. Overall, cumulatively, 20 million. He has, I think, two channels that have crossed 10 million or something. And of course, his Instagram and everything as well. So this was I think pre-TikTok time in the country, wherein today you will go like, hey, let's do a podcast, let's take snippets out of it and put it on Instagram and everything. We're like, how that was not really the case back in the day. We were sort of the early ones who figured out this distribution model. Can we take the longer episodes and turn it into a blog, newsletter, LinkedIn, this, that, whatever. Can I be on every platform that my potential consumer is? And I cannot, let's say, if we are on LinkedIn, I cannot take the snippet of a video and put it there, because that is not what LinkedIn was rewarding, at least back in the day. And that is not what the consumer is used to. Just to give you an example, when I use Instagram as a platform versus YouTube, there is very two big differences. YouTube is intent based. When I click on something, I'm expecting something, and I'm looking for something long form. Either it is information, entertainment, or whatever that is, right? When it is about Instagram, it is not really intent based. It is discovery based. Something you're just opening Instagram or TikTok, and it is just
Good
randomly
point.
coming up in your screen, and you're getting entertained or whatever that is, right? Right, right. So we understood that every platform has its own language, and every user uses the platform in a different way and expects something different outcome out of it every time. So you're like, hey, can we translate that particular piece of long form content into these snippets and into these formats that work on the platform and for the audience? And that really worked out very well. And one of the things with doing this particular strategy is, can you increase the recall of the brand name and the face? So the next time this particular person appears on your YouTube thumbnail or YouTube screen, would this audience be likely to click on this thumbnail? I'm sure, Rod, you are aware of this thing called click-through rate. So an impression, as in like if a YouTube video comes on my homepage and I click on it, what's that ratio? How many people are doing that? So that really impacts the recall value. Okay, hey, I've seen this guy. I really like the tweets he does, or I really like the LinkedIn post he put out about that podcast. Why don't I give it a try? So that really worked out very well for us. Then I was there for a while and then moved to another guy, Raj Mani, and today he's the biggest. Actually, Raj Mani, the guy, he's the biggest in the country in terms of podcasts. He's done a podcast with the guys like um, uh, Bill Gates, Sunita Williams, Michael Phelps. Very recent episode, in fact. So some of these greats. In fact, we have biceps as well. He's also around. I think he's 15 million on YouTube and across platforms and everything. He'll be also like around 25 million, 30 million cumulatively followers. So I was there for a while, working on his personal brand and solving for the long form content in the early days. Then I think I moved to another company called as Joe Stocks. So they are also incredible in nature. They do like 1 billion views a year because they are catering to the masses of the country. And their core insight is that Rod or Adarsh is not successful just because of the fact that they were smart. They're also successful because they had exposure to things that other people don't. So how can we scale this thing called exposure to as many people as possible? So what Josh does, just like Ted, they bring in people and talk about their stories. And I think they've done something incredibly well, that a person sitting in probably LA talking about, let's say, robotics isn't relatable to a person sitting in the town or countryside of let's say a smaller state in India, right?
Let me stop you
They
for a
need
second.
relatable role models. Sure.
It looks like we have a little delay between us, so I'm going to try and work a little harder to make sure that when I say something, you react to it about 2, 3, 4 seconds later. So let's just be aware of that. But
Sure.
before you continue on to what I'm actually asking you about,
Right.
is this. You had mentioned click-through rates a little bit ago, and I'm starting to understand this stuff because I'm in the business now, as we talked about before.
Yeah.
I used to be in the machinery building business. I wound that business down about 2 years ago, started working on this, and as you know, started the show a year and a half ago. But my question is click-through rates. What should, when you know you're getting somewhere, what is that click-through rate? What is that number? What are you looking? I've got a couple of questions for you here, and we do already have questions on the show, but let's wait on those. What's a good click-through rate where you know you're starting to get somewhere?
So honestly, it depends really on the category. On
Okay.
music, it is different. Entertainment, it is different. Infotainment, it is pretty different. Let's say you operate in a category like maybe fintech or embedded investing, which is a very niche category. So it could be very, very different. But let's say we are operating in a space of podcasts, doing informational podcasts, with founders and stuff like that. I'd say a good click-through rate would be anywhere above 7 to 12, 15. That'll be a great click-through rate. That means if 100 viewers came on your just saw your video on their homepage, 10, 15 of them decided to click it, right? Because they
Uh,
found it to be, something worthwhile for their time, right? In entertainment and everything, of course, this goes above, 20 or something like that, because it's, as a category, it is pretty different. But especially the category that I have an expertise in, working around alongside brands and, infotainment creators, this number is somewhere between 7 to 14, 15. Yeah.
and that all comes from them seeing your thumbnail, right? Your thumbnail image, and then they click on
Correct.
it because that image gets in. So, what how do you build that for somebody? I mean, I know this already because you wanted me to change our thumbnail, and I totally forgot
Correct.
about it last night.
Yeah.
How do you know that thumbnail is going to work better than the one that I created on my
Right, right, right,
on
right,
my
right.
Chat GPT?
So, I'll be very honest about this. One of the things is that I've spent 10 years in the business consuming a lot of content. And at the end of the day, I am right now an LLM of content myself. I'm a repository of content. I've consumed a lot of content. I have some sort of like an insight that is developed from this much of,
Okay,
consuming content
you have an
myself and
eye.
having an experience. Yeah, yeah, I have an eye. And I'll be very honest with everyone about this. Gut is nothing but you consuming a lot of a certain thing, right? Because
Okay,
then you
yep.
get what works, what does not work, if you've been in the business for around for a long time. So one thing is, if you go back to that thumbnail right now, one of the things was ki first I understood ki, hey, let's say if we are going to talk about content and marketing, especially focusing on brands, businesses, and leaders, what's working already? So I went on TED, the platform, right? There was a video about, the art of marketing from a CMO. There was a couple of videos. I was like, hey, this is very good. And one thing that I bring onto the table as a credibility is I've spent 10 years in this business. Can I sum it up? Can I sum it up those insights and give you in 100 minutes? 10 years of information, summing it up in 100 minutes. So it needs to be power packed, it needs to be very insightful, and someone thinks, hey, this is worth my time because this guy is
Right.
giving, let's say, X years of experience in it. So that is a uptrend, of course, in the industry. I've seen that a lot. And of course, then it was about the art of content. I did not really find it anywhere else. And I'm sure people who would be interested in this particular genre of content, who would want to learn from it, would click on it. So that was an initial side. Of course, there a lot of A/B testing goes on. No one is honestly perfect. In fact, even Mr. B is the biggest creator on the platform. He tests out like two or three or four thumbnails every day. So
How do you
it's
let me ask you this? How do you do
yeah,
that? How do you test? I see all the time. Do you want an A/B to do tests?
correct, correct,
One,
correct, correct.
it's I'm my own person, so that's there's just more time, and there's only so many hours in a day. But how does
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
do an A/B test? And
right.
I know
So when
it's
you go,
important, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. So it's just an initial idea of, hey, let's release three posters of a film and see which one is getting more attention. Is it the villain which is getting a lot of attention? Is it the hero, or is it the, let's say, the female lead which is getting a lot of attention for the film, right? And how do you
Okay.
judge that? How do you judge that is the amount of sales that happens through that particular thing, right? So in this case, your sales, or if I may, is watch time. So if someone clicks on a thumbnail and if they're like, hey, today Rod is going to talk about content, right? I am interested. I consider Rod to be an authority. Let's go in. And then Rod probably is talking about either something insightful or either something very basic, right? You've created thumbnail from all three perspectives. The one, so three audience sets, right? A, B, and C. They're getting recommended three different thumbnails. The answer to which one works the best is the one that drives the most amount of retention, right? The most amount of watch time. Who watched it for longer because they thought, hey, this is valuable. I really like this thumbnail, and this is what I was offered in the, what do you call it, the video. It's like something that you saw in a restaurant's placard and you entered it and you're like, hey, this is not what I was looking for. So you leave
Yeah.
quickly, right? And that tells you,
Yeah.
hey, this is a bad thumbnail. It's not working. You need it to be as close and relatable as possible to what you're going to offer in the video. And in fact, I suggest to everyone that first think about the thumbnail. First think about what is that is going to attract people to come in. First think about the distribution part of it, and then sort of program your content. So if, let's say, I have to deliver certain insights, can it be entertaining for the audience to stay in the zone, or whatever that is? There needs to be a story or something else. So that is how A/B testing really happens, if I may.
And I guess where I'm going with that is, so I'm a content creator. We're using me as an example and throughout this conversation, which I always like. I like being a center of attention. So
Same here.
yeah, exactly. We're a lot alike. We're going to be arm wrestling for words today. At the end of the day, though, so as you know, I do a show every day, and
Right.
sometimes the guests, for instance, sometimes I'll have to move a date or something. Somebody will need to move a date,
Sure.
and then somebody will pop on, and it'll be quick. We're about a month out in guests right now, but there's a couple of openings in there. If they come on and say you're 2 days from now, 3 days from now, similar to what happened with us here, is and at that point, I've got to set up the description. I've got to scrape all the information that I can find about you and your business. And then I've got to create the title and the description we go out to LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, X, Facebook, and I think there's another one, but we're on Substack. But so I've got 3 days to do that, besides the other stuff I'm doing, and create the title, the description, and then from that I use AI to, here's the title and description, here's a picture, and I grab your picture off of Matchmaker FM and I drop it into the AI, right? And then it creates that image according to the different needs that the different platforms require. How do I take? So now I'm taking that thumbnail, and then I want a B as well. You're saying 2 or 3 of them you should have?
Right, three thumbnails.
So 3 thumbnails, and then I've got to send that out. But do you just send it out? So you've got to send it out with the content, but I'm using the thumbnail. So for instance, somebody's going to click on this thumbnail. Well, 330 people have clicked on that thumbnail, and are watching. But how do I, if I'm sending that content out, are you talking about then taking clips and putting a thumbnail on those clips, which would be different ones, and testing those? Is that what you're talking about, or build that out a little bit more?
So YouTube only offers this feature wherein you can try 3 different thumbnails on a particular video, and it gives you base. So as I mentioned earlier, it forms 3 sets, A, B, and C, and different set of audiences are given different thumbnail. And what is judged is if someone clicked on A thumbnail, B thumbnail, or C thumbnail, which gave the most amount of retention to the video, which gave the most amount of watch hours. And that is what results into saying, hey, this particular thumbnail wins because someone clicked on this and stayed for the longest period, right? So I talk about something called as the return on attention, right? ROA is something wherein we need to focus on. ROI is nothing but how much return are you giving someone on their attention. It's like ROI, right? Someone is expecting, let's say, return on their investment. Attention is a very big investment, especially in today's day and age, right? Everyone has 24 hours. We discussed this earlier, right? So someone is investing, let's say, X minutes of their attention on your platform. How are you rewarding them? And the best way to analyze their return on attention is someone clicked on your thumbnail. So first of all, that is one CTR, and the second thing is watch time. So the higher watch time and CTR tells you, hey, this was a great video and it had a great return on their attention. They loved watching this particular. And of course, engagement is a part of it. People organically sharing the content is a part of it. That they feel, hey, I'm glad that I came across this video. and that is the objective. Like, in fact, when I'm doing this thing, my objective is how I should chuck off the journey, this, that, whatever, and focus main on the insights. Like, give people the blueprint that they can, exactly copy on the things that they are working on.
It's interesting, and it
Yeah.
even goes deep. It even goes deeper than that too, because if you're if you the content for LinkedIn is slightly different, right? Or the viewers
Yeah.
On LinkedIn are slightly different
Correctly.
than, let's say, Instagram. They're a lot
Correct.
different,
Correct.
right? And
Right.
Facebook for that matter, right? LinkedIn is
Right.
got that, and then YouTube is different again. And each one of those would require a different thumbnail, right? Or no?
Absolutely. Each one of them would require different thumbnails. And in fact, I would suggest not, if let's say you're doing 1 hour of episode, not necessarily you need to upload the entire episode, right? On a different platform or whatever that is, because what will work is this particular part of it. My audience on Instagram is only interested in, let's say, gossip or entertainment, voyeurism, whatever that is. But on
Right.
YouTube, it is very different. So I'll upload a different part of it, right? So doing clips is a very good strategy. Uploading 5 minutes of clips, that again gives you a good feedback loop. Okay, hey, this part of the video worked out really well. It blew out of proportion. Okay, so can the next time that we are engaging in a conversation like this, can I keep this particular question early, right? So of course you need to look at it as a very individual piece of strategy, because what I see a lot of people doing right now is the templatization of things, right? Hey, this is a template. Let's follow this and let's upload it up. But it would not work. And not even talking about YouTube or social media. You go back to the films, right? If let's say there is a time in currently in India, action films are really working out well, right? People loving action films, but
Right.
it will definitely saturate to a point because people will get bored of it, right? The if you see, there's always a cycle of what kind of films are becoming popular, what kind of films production houses are coming up with, because they see, hey, there's this romantic rom-coms working out very well, so let's go out and make a lot of rom-coms. And eventually the ones who realize this the last do not end up making money, because they are the ones who sort of are following the template and people get bored of the template. That is essentially true. You need to solve for their novelty, need to come out with something new altogether, and that is how you sort of break into the market. And I think that is what a lot of people are doing wrong at the moment. Taking a podcast, cutting down the clips, putting it out, one thumbnail, one title, whatever, because they are in the volume game, right? And I would advise against that, because a lot of people
So
are getting
wait.
recommended a lot of, yeah.
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying.
Sure.
You're saying they're doing the same content over and over again, or they're doing different content but the same thumbnail no matter what the content is? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying, if let's say we are doing this conversation today, there needs to be some novelty for the audience every single time. Let's say if you're a podcast on specifically on religion, right? Let's talk about Christianity for an example. Can in every episode you talk about the same Bible verse? You cannot, right? There needs to
No.
be some novelty for the audience at the end of the day, right? So same as I was talking about the movies. In the same story, if there is a predictability in audience's mind, hey, now this guy fights for the girl, they end up marrying, and the movie ends, then they're not gonna enjoy it. You need to wow the audience. So just to give you an example, it's sort of like a pyramid, right? Each time you're templatizing, the audience goes up ahead. They are going to a creator who has lesser followers, lesser views, but is offering something very novel. And that is what is considered underrated. And that is what people want to go ahead with. I think mainstream is out of cool. People are not going ahead with mainstreams anymore. People want something very niche. Okay, hey, I really love this podcast which talks about coffee, because that tells me something about my own self. I'm a very big coffee fanatic. Whenever I'm entering a conversation, I have a lot of information about coffee, even whether it is relevant or not, but it says something about me, right? So That's just how it is. We need to get out of templatization and focus on getting more and more niche, more and more customizing to what will work for the audience, and that is how I definitely think will work in 2026.
Well, let me add, okay, 2026 just starting off. It's still snow on the ground out there. Um,
Yeah,
the too much snow, but uh, 2026. Let's talk about me again. Let's keep
yeah.
talking about me. Um, it- how are so I'm not niche at all, right? Well, I am niche,
Yeah.
but I'm not niche.
Hmm.
And I've had a lot
Right.
of conversations to people about this because I grew up very curious, so I know a little tiny bit about a lot of
Yeah.
things. And like you said, you're jealous of me because I get so much training
Yeah.
every day. I get talk to an expert, so I'm learning more and more every
Correct.
day. My niche
Yeah.
is the great middle class.
Yeah.
We're a beacon for all the
Hmm.
noise for the great middle class, for
Correct.
clarity and empowerment and all that. So we talk about AI
Right.
to mental health to religion. Yesterday, basically, the whole thing was about. Remember, I told you 11,534 people on for the whole
Correct.
show. To the and we were on 3 hours, man.
Yeah.
And my point being, in
Yeah.
that show, we had religion, a lot of religion, anti-Semitism. We
Yeah.
compared the religions, and we talked about education because we talked about how the
Hmm.
anti-Semitism comes from, in my opinion, ignorance, not necessarily issues, because people don't know their stories. So
Right.
we had that on, and we had this, and so am I still niche, or am I? Somebody once told me, if you're going to be the master of all, you'll be the master of none, right? Well, it works out pretty well, I think. Or should I adjust what I'm doing?
One thing you're aware, right? The complete code is master, still better than a master of one. I guess it's something like that. So I think one thing that you mentioned throughout what you were talking about is you're creating the content for the greater middle class.
Mm-hmm.
We need to look at content as a human personality. If let's say your IB, insights and straight talk, were a girl or were a boy, would you want to sit next to that person? Would you want to hang out with that person, take that person out for a coffee? That is the straight up answer of who you are. Let's say
Interesting.
I'm sure you'd find a lot of people who are just agreeing to everything, who don't have a personality, and those are not really the people you like to surround yourself with, right? In the case of Joe Rogan as well, just to give you a very good example in the same industry, he also covers a lot of different topics on his particular podcast. But Joe is not Joe because the kind of guest he's bringing in. Joe Rogan is Joe Rogan because of his own personality. Let's say Rod
Sure.
Duff becomes the face of American middle class, of let's say every 40-year-old who today was looking at television on Saturday while on while having a glass of beer. Are we taking those 2 hours and taking those 2 hours away from them and making them watch Insights and Straight Talk? That is the question only we need to answer. Niche is not always the category that we are focusing on. Hey, this category is quite booming, so let's enter in that. Niche is also about your personality is quite niche. You yourself
Ah,
are very different.
okay.
You yourself, that's a good niche, right? Nothing is as
Very
incredible as
good.
personality, right? Because tomorrow, let's say this particular niche of content does not work out. Tomorrow, let's say coffee does not work out. People don't like coffee. The world is moving towards matcha or yerba mate, whatever. Then you'd be irrelevant because the people who are coming in were just coming in for the coffee or the guest, right? The
Yeah.
opportunity is for you to sit down with someone like me or whatever and ask in-depth questions to get something out of me, because we know, right, ki anytime we enter into a conversation, ask someone, hey, how are you doing, they have a templatized response because they've heard this so many times. Can we go a
Right.
lot more deeper? Can we say, hey, what was something interesting that you discovered last week? That makes a person think, and that is what talks about your personality. Ki what are you looking out there? What kind of questions you're asking? Like for Joe as well, Joe is not a podcaster who calls in guests and does an interview. Hey, answer this question. No, he's actually fighting with people. The guests he brings in. Hey, you're wrong about this. You're bullshitting. Whatever that is. Sorry for the cuss word. So
No, that's
we
fine.
need to create a personality out of. So you're saying something?
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
just saying,
So
as
we,
the
we we need to
shit
focus
happen.
on creating a personality out there.
Yeah, we have this lag back again.
Exactly.
What I said was shit happens. So go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, what I'm saying is you need to focus on the personality at the end of the day. Like Elon Musk is a personality. He does not operate in a niche of content of technology. It's not that.
True.
Elon Musk is an
True.
amazing personality. Any tragedy that comes along his way, he laughs out of it. And people just are excited about that. Because someone like Elon, he's being watched by the entire world, is on top of the ladder. Of course, everyone wants him to lose, right? And it's
Yep.
great when he does not lose, right? He's fighting so many people out there. I think millions and billions of people who want him to see fall, or maybe the president of America, maybe the prime minister of our country. There are people who want them to fall or something like that. But there is something about their personality being a badass or whatever that is that people find very cool, right? If I just talk about Mr. President Donald Trump, right? He's actually the badass kid in a college, in a
He
senior
is.
high, who people be like,
He is.
hey, let's go, Donald, let's go. He's that, and that's why people are liking him, because everyone
Yeah.
likes that kind of personality. It's about the personality. Maybe it could be about some of the issues that he stands for and everything, but it is Donald Trump just being badass and real. So I mean, personality. The biggest niche is personality, and if we can build upon that, nothing like it.
I gotta admit, having a badass president finally that is doing things for the American people. I've always been on trust but verify. But having a
Yeah.
badass president's kind of cool. Right now, it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
rest
yeah.
of the
You want a
world,
very strong
you know,
leader.
yeah, he's probably the strongest, if not one of the strongest leaders we've ever had, and it's impressive as hell.
Correct.
Hey, let
Correct.
me let me do something here. So Bradley Pomp was one of our first guests, and he comes on only every once in a while. Not guests, audience member. Years
Yeah.
and years ago, he jumps on every once in a while, and I made him a deal. I said, anytime I see you, I'll give you a personal shout out. So Bradley Pomp, shout
Yeah.
out to you. He's got a good question here too. He shows up on all the technology, so he's got to be involved in
Sure.
somewhere in that. What's the biggest mistake
Yeah.
people make chasing chasing reach over trust? I think that's an awesome question, and that goes into personality too, because you have to be authentic as well, right? When you are, which whatever it is that you are.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, the one of the biggest things, and that is what my organization stands for, is beyond visibility toward authority.
Oh wow.
Someone could be in your face all around on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or whatever, but it does not matter if people are gonna forget him after just swiping one of the TikToks or after a matter of 2, 3 days of trend, right? The objective is how can you achieve a mind share of someone they're expecting to learn from you. Greatest examples actually come from written platforms like Substack, Twitter, and those kind of areas wherein people are actually giving a lot of intent to sit down, read what a person is saying, either engage with it, either share it, or whatever that is. And that is how some of the greatest personal brands are built. Again, coming back to Elon, one of my favorite subjects. Apart from his interviews and everything, everyone has seen him. He's a big personality, but the amount of interaction he has on Twitter, the amount of him the amount of vulnerability he has presented on Twitter, being himself, he has shown there, is a result of the trust that he has achieved in, let's say, a subsect of the audience. Mamdani, the new New York mayor, right? He's also a very good example of that. I don't really just
Yes.
want to focus on visibility, because when, let's say, if you want to focus on visibility, you cut down on other things. Because as I just mentioned, one of the things of being visible in someone's eyes is being novel, is doing things that people would be very surprised looking at, but it is not necessarily the thing that people would trust you for, right? I could be the worst singer in the world, and I could go out there on, let's say, Madison Street or New York or whatever, and sing out the loudest. I could be the loudest voice, right? Everyone would hear me. Maybe some people will take a story out of me. I could be popular in some days for news or whatever that is, but I would not be loved by all, right? I would not be, sort of in someone's playlist. That is something that we need to focus on. Ki how we go about looking at, ki, hey, let's say what Mamdani did. It was like, hey, let's list down the issues that there is in the city or whatever that is, and let's target a very particular group. Let's target South Asians. Let's target, Africans or whatever that is. He took a very particular group, and he established himself as one of the boys that came from their street. Hey, I'm just like you. I think like you. I believe I'm in the position like you. And that is what got a lot of attention eventually. And that is what gave him, the sort of the power or the trust from people to say, hey, why don't you come in and step? On the other hand, if let's say you're a very famous creator on YouTube, you have 10 million subscribers or anything, right? You wouldn't win election, because a lot of people are seeing you for the things you're doing on the internet, on the shenanigans you're doing, but they do not trust you necessarily, right? I could look at a monkey just walking around laughing. I could give my money into it, but I don't trust that man with my money, right? So that's the thing we need to look at. Ki if I am attending, let's say, a podcast abroad, is it going to be worthwhile for me? Is it going to be something that when I get out of it, I have a high ROA, which we discussed earlier, high return on my attention? And that is honestly what people get wrong. They're focusing on visibility, 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 because that is the end product that they see for a lot of people. But what they're not focusing on, the authority and that trust that they have built in a smaller community. And that community is what is cheering out loud for people. What we call publicity is not you
Ah,
being viral, as we say, or you getting a lot of views. It is core publicity of people being like, hey, this is an awesome guy, or this is an awesome service. Why don't everyone is talking about it? Because of course, again, this is the same human need of, hey, I have discovered this, so I want to go out and tell a lot of people about this, because it says something about me. I'm, let's say, one of the first people who gets a technology in health, like Whoop or whatever. Hey, I want to go and show it off to people, something like I did right now. So that's just human emotion. You need to focus on a very niche community, solve for their problems, listen to them, and when you've won in that space, they themselves are going out there and cheering out loud for you. Your job
that's a
is
great
done
point,
there
man.
almost.
That's
Yeah,
that's a great point, because it's true. I mean, yeah, it's obvious. It's so true. What do you think about
yeah,
Jennifer here? Because it's kind of the same thing that you're talking about now. You're needing to build that content, which I'm definitely doing that. Where you're needing to build that
yeah,
content and that platform and the trust between what you talk about and what people want to consume and then enjoy
right,
consuming, and that's your marketing, because then people will
right,
go out and say, hey, Sally, man, did you see that show on Insights and Straight Talk?
yeah,
So is that the same thing as authority? Is that kind of what you're leaning into now? How do you define authority in today's
right,
attention economy? Because we're kind of at that crossroads right
sure.
here, aren't we?
Sure, sure. So, I mean, authority is sort of like marathon, to be very honest. You can train a lot, you can, serve to your community and everything. And then you go out there, you go out in a conference, or maybe, let's say you're a singer, so you book out shows or whatever. And that is what tells you if you have an authority or not. If people are actually either going to pay money, either going to invest a lot of their time, or make a lot of effort to come to, let's say, a show or whatever that is, That tells you if you've won something, if you have an authority of a
Wow.
subject. Today, let's say I'm a creator. Let's say, Rod, you're a creator, right? You have 10,000 people following you, whatever that is. The real judgment of authority is if you go on any other platform, any other place, the person just uses your face, can he get views? The people who follow
Oh,
you, will they come there because they think, what Rod says makes a lot of sense? That is the clear sign of authority.
interesting.
That I
Interesting.
won
That
these people over, whichever platform that I go to, even if I'm not on that platform, I'll be still relevant for these people for years and years because I have given them an incredible value in their lives. And that is just simply something we need to focus on. Like some of the names that I really follow and everything, it's Stephen Bartlett, The Diary of a CEO, Chris Williamson, Modern Wisdom, or Joe Rogan, The Joe Rogan Experience, and everything. These are the people who I have consumed personally for a very long time, and I think, hey, these are some people who have a lot of authority in the space that they're operating, because they've spent so much of time. They say things that I agree upon, and it is not just about the bias, but it is also about the things that they challenge me to think about something. And that's when I say, hey, this guy really knows his shit, right? One of the good examples, again in authority, is Andrew Huberman. He took a subject like sleep, nutrition, and I'll be very honest with you, okay? I have listened to his 3 hour episode just on sleeping right, and it was just about, just to give you a gist, it was just about closing your curtains, turning having no light in the room, just sleeping, doing this, and those sort of very small details. And he, in fact, I always remember his intro, which is like, "Hi, I'm Dr. Andy Huberman, professor of neurology and ophthalmology at Stanford School of Medicine." So this is the credibility that guy comes with, and he's there to offer me some sort of an information for, let's say, 3 hours or whatever, just about sleep. I used to do it earlier as well. I used to sleep
that's crazy.
all my life, just
That's
go on the
crazy.
bed, turn off the light, that's it. Yeah, but someone is going in very depth to say, hey, I want to focus on this because maybe it will improve your life by 5%, but 5% is a very significant figure if you look at throughout your life. So that is how honestly you authority. That is how you measure it. If I am banned from all of the social media platforms, will there be 100 people filling in a stadium or, let's say, a room just to listen to me? That is the very simple example of authority. And it's
That
like
makes perfect
marathon.
sense. And
However amount of training you have done, you have to go to the marathon to test your final time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Hey, let's stay on this same subject a little bit here for John. Sorry, I have a very
sure.
small screen in this home thing, so I'm having a little difficulty making sure I read correctly here. How long does it realistically take? Now, this is going to vary, obviously, but we just talked about what is authority. How long will it take to get organic authority? And you working with people obviously have experience at this.
Yeah,
So there's probably a range at this, but this is an interesting question. I
yeah,
like this because I want to know, and I want to talk more about you and how you what it looks like that you're doing
yeah.
when you're working with people. So go ahead.
How long does it realistically take to build organic authority?
Yes.
Uh, Organic authority is nothing but a brand. It's a brand like Live because we are assured on the quality that it delivers. Authority is nothing but a luxury company that is going to promise me that every time that I enter their store, I enter their hotel, I buy a product, I'm going to get same kind of experience. They will never ever disappoint me. And to build that, it is not just about you being present on social media platforms. So authority is a narrative, that, let's say, you are best at something, right? Apart from the technical cases and everything, let's say Atomic Habits, let's take an example of that. Is James Clear the most capable person to talk about habits? Does he have a PhD? Whatever. In habits? Maybe not. But he's someone who talked about habits, explained it to a person, and is distributed all around. And that is why we consider him to be an authority. Ki, hey, when someone talked to me about authority, it was James Clear. Sorry, about habits, it was James Clear. He was the one who helped me understand how do I fix my habits and so that those sort of things. So organic authority is just built over years and years. To be very honest, there is no timeline to it. No timeline. You just need to stand by what you're saying. There needs to be some things that you have to say no to. Consider yourself as the founder of Louis Vuitton and you are the brand. Rod is the brand. What are the things he'll say no to? What are the things that he'll stand for? You just keep repeating it every goddamn day. So Gary Vee is a very good example. Gary Vaynerchuk. He is someone who was early in the space of internet creating content, and he has pretty simple, just a few things: be kind, do content, stay on the internet, build your business, this, that, whatever. And all of us know it because he's just kept repeating the thing over the years. And of course, because he was right, people have seen the results of it. Today, if you go out on his Instagram or whatever, you would not see a lot of likes or views or whatever, but it doesn't matter because people still consider him as an authority. People want him to be in the rooms where social media, content, or marketing is being discussed because they think he has been in the business for a long time. He has gotten predictions right, and he has been goddamn saying the same thing for over years and years and years. So that is just authority. It cannot be built within, let's say, 10 days, 5 days, year, 2 years. It takes a lot of time. So I'd just say be authentic, know what things you're going to be standing for, and just continue that for the rest of the period, whatever you think you'll be taking your personal brand or content ahead to.
That's fascinating. That is
Yeah.
your approach. I say this only every once in a while, and I've been fortunate. You talk about how lucky I am to have so much knowledge
Yeah.
being imposed upon me. Every once in a while, one of the experts that, because we have different views that, different angles that people are approaching their subject, in this case, content and
Sure.
marketing and leadership and all that. Each one of those have different ways they approach something, and every once in a while there's one that really stands out. And I'm not just saying this to blow smoke up your dress, so to speak. I'm saying this because it's fascinating how it's obvious the success by seeing your mind work by hearing the words that you're saying. And it's fascinating. We're going to pivot here a little bit
Sure.
for John here. I how long does it? Oh, I'm sorry, I just had that, didn't I? I wanted to hit this one. It's a
Yeah.
little bit different. How do you reduce? Because this has happened once or twice. If it's what I'm thinking he's talking about, is he talking about over time here? You think, or during a show? Because every once in a while, towards the end of a long show, I'll have a bunch of people
Yeah.
start dropping off, and I'm like, because the count
Yeah.
matters, when you end where you are in the count. How do you
Right.
manage that? How do you reduce audience? Is that what he's talking about in long form content, or is he talking
Correct.
about
Correct.
your
Correct.
audience? So okay, so that's a real thing. Okay, I've experienced it. It's not fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean that's the case honestly for a lot of the biggest creators as well. It is extremely tough to keep a person engaged for, let's say, an hour or 2 hours or whatever that is, because every person who's, let's say, entering a podcast, they're entering with a very different objective, right? Let's take
Okay.
an example of the Joe Rogan episode with Elon Musk where he was seen smoking, right? Majority of the people who entered that conversation came into the reason of looking at someone like Elon smoke publicly on a this kind of a platform, and that is what drove its views early on. But there will be a very small subsection of it who will be listening to the entire conversation. And those are the people you really need to build for, right? So
Ah,
there needs to be a very focused personality. Let's say if I am looking at, and let's again take your example, Rod. If I am looking at targeting people who are in their late 40s, who are probably spending their evening in their house alone, and they are people who are still willing to upskill. It's a very niche audience. Do I want to
wow.
deliver insights for them from my audience? That is what we need to look for. Like, if like, in case of how brands also operate when they are launching a product, they look at very specific individual. Let's if you to give you an example of Colgate in India, their target audience is a mother who's 35-year-old who has a 5-year-old kid, and is she is most likely a housewife or a person who does like job for a part time or those sort of things, and she's very much concerned about their kid. You have to be that specific to know what kind of problems that person is going through. You need to treat content also like a brand that you're building out there. So if I am aware there are 10,000 people, there could be 100,000 views, I'm not building for them. I need to keep these 10,000 people engaged for the maximum time possible, because these are the ones that I'm creating content for, and they'll do the job. As we mentioned earlier, these 10,000 people will shout aloud on their personal LinkedIn, their personal
Right.
Instagram, that this is something very insightful that Rod mentioned. So, as Jack is asking here, how do you reduce audience drop off in long form content? You need to optimize for the, again, the same thing, return on attention. If I'm
Okay.
getting someone to click the thumbnail, am I going to deliver the same value? It is very very important. If you're, let's say, a lipstick brand, and you're showing your model use the lipstick, and versus your consumer who gets the product and applies it, and they're like, hey, this is not the same thing. So how do you
Yes.
solve for that? Maybe I cannot change my lipstick. Why don't I get a real person using that lipstick and feature in my ad? Maybe it is not as glamorous, but it is going to be real. People are gonna trust it, because they are like, hey, this is what was shown in the picture, and this is the reality of it, and I appreciate it. And that is what will drive your CTR. And the second thing is, that is what will keep the people engaged for a longer period. That's about it. That's the simplest way of keeping people engaged in the long form content. Because those
So so
90K 100 people you don't need to care about.
so you have a balance though too, don't you? Or maybe not. So people dropping off, you're attacking, you're addressing that
Yeah.
10% that stays on, or that 70% that stays on because they're
Right.
there because of you. The other one just wanted to see somebody do something and they're off. Do you also need to have content that you're consistent and honest about, and want to, for me, for instance, it's the great middle class, but we have a lane. I call them lane. Our playlists, I call them
Sure.
lane. We have a lane that's for teenagers. It's the Regeneration School Project. It's the Voices at the Table. So I've got to be able to balance in trying to pull additional age groups in, and still not
Yeah.
lose the other folks, and doing that. That's an interesting balance, isn't it? Have you dealt with that?
uh, Of course, and I'll be very honest with you. Consider this to be a entertainment zone or a cafe. You are
Okay,
seeing, let's say, your core audience is 40-year-old people coming in the bar to drink beer,
right.
right?
That is my core. That is absolutely my core.
Let's assume that, and you are the owner of the bar, right? And you
Hmm.
decide, hey, there is a lot of people who are also teenagers, and they would have some sort of money or something. Can I also optimize for them, and offer something, this, that, whatever that is, right? What ends up happening is, the core people who were sitting in their bar, they were coming in for the reason that they find their like-minded people. They don't want to be sitting aside, let's say, a 16-year-old who is just messing around. And same is the case for that 16-year-old, or sorry, 18, 20-year-old who is just
Yep.
coming in to have some fun, probably have some cheap beer, hang out with their friends, or just mess around or whatever that is. But they do not find that environment to be conducing to them, right? So we always need to think of it as a room. I'm creating this room. If people want to come for the
Yeah.
greater good, if people want to come for either for my personality, if they want to come for the experience that I'm already offering, then it is good. Or either what you do is you launch a sub brand. You do not change this particular thing. So let's say if I'm Apple, right? I'm Apple. I am
Yep.
launching a $1,000 phone, right? Tomorrow I cannot launch a 1500 sorry $150 phone. Probably I can do that because the amount of money I have and everything, and I can reach masses. But that just ruins the positioning that I have, right? Because
Yep.
someone found it to be very aspirational in South Asia to own an iPhone, but it is not the case today because everyone that you see has an iPhone in their hands. So how do you solve for that? Then you go in the ecosystem play this, that, whatever that is, right? So what we also again need to look at is, can we create a sub brand? Let's say what Nothing has also done. Nothing is a technology company. They have a premium phone. They created a sub brand called CMF, which was addressing to a different market size, different set of audience who cannot afford it, right? So let's say if I have to create content for again teenagers or a different sort of people, I'll create a different IP altogether because my focus in this IP is not to cater to them. If they come in, well and good, but I'm not gonna change my, as I said, right? Being a brand, your thing is you need to say yes to a couple of things, stand by it, and you need to say no to a couple of things.
Yeah.
Whether
So
even it is like rewarding you in the short term, you're getting engagement or whatever, doesn't matter. We need to look at the long term focus of it. One caveat though there here is, there is this maturity in audience that happens over the period. So for an example, today your audience is late 40s or whatever that is, right? But age, their age is not going to be stuck at that point. And also the case for the people who are in their late 30s, early 40s. Your early 40s people could be a very niche amount of audience that are consuming your content today, but they'll come in, eventually consume your content, pass on. It's like a university that you're creating today. People in this particular bracket come and listen to you, enjoy a particular piece of content. If they want to be engaged with it, they do the PhD over here, they stay here, they subscribe to your university's newsletter, they keep engaged, what's happening in the state and everything. But the ones who are not, sorry, the ones who are also going to come up, they're also going to mature over the period. So one trend that we saw in India especially was, when internet early came in, there was a very small section of audience which was focusing even on infotainment content. The internet in especially India was filled with entertainment pieces of content, very basic saturated pieces that you'll say see today and be like, what is this, what the hell is this? But that was the first source of entertainment. People was just flirting around with it. And that is the case of, let's say, technology as well. The first time technology comes in, the objective of it is, the objective that it is solving for is key, can it be easily in people's hand? Can people be comfortable using it, right? That is the first thing that technology was solving for, and that is how they eventually got in everyone's hand. People were
exactly.
messing around with it, either playing some games on it, doing this, that, whatever. And now we have come to a point where we are sort of the power users of it. Today also with AI, people are messing around on Grok. Ki, hey, remove the best actor or whatever that is. Those kind of funny things. But
Yeah.
it is making people accustomed to an AI platform or whatever that is. So coming back to my point that I was mentioning, that there could be some early users who would listen to your content and everything, and eventually when it is their time, they'll become your core users, they'll become your core audience and everything. But you do not need to change your standing. You can evolve, you can be very authentic about this ki, hey, let's say if you were doing political podcast, you could be very authentic about this ki, I am wrong, or I was wrong. I was let's say 5 years until now I was supporting the left wing, but there is a change of heart, there is a change of ideology, and I'd want to be very transparent about it. and this is what I'm seeing myself doing in the next 5 years. I'll probably be supporting the left wing or whatever that is, right? So when you're transparent about it, when you're authentic about it, and you stand by what you're saying, that's it. It does not matter who comes in from the gate, who goes out of the gate. You only focus on those 10,000 people.
Interesting. Interesting. By the
Yeah,
way, I just wanted to pop this on here. I want to get into the storytelling part of this, which is to me is a very important part because that's how people learn. We'll get into that in a second. But Ronald Haig actually was a guest on here about 2-3 weeks ago, and he
yeah.
jumped in off of LinkedIn. And as you can
Hmm.
tell, the LinkedIn, most of our audience is still YouTube. I'm trying to grow the LinkedIn side of it, but read what he
Yeah.
says.
Cool.
So now, as we get into this, there's a lot of, as I was looking through the different things, there's a lot of layers that you're working with people on in order to,
Correct.
and we're hearing that story unfold, like, I'm peeling back the onion here, and
Onion. Yeah.
I'm very interested in the storytelling part here. What role does storytelling play in authority building? And this,
Understood.
to me, I think it brings out more personality. It creates that authenticity if you're just
Right.
talking versus storytelling, because 8% is the words. You've got to actually build in colors into those layers, right?
Correct. 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 I mean, honestly, let's say the
Thank you,
best example
Clive,
of
by the way.
storytelling. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Clyde, for the question. So I'll again go back to the movies, something we all of us have seen and relate with.
Can you
Storytelling is
believe an
very necessary.
hour's already gone by? Sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry. But can you believe it's
Yeah.
already over an hour that we've been talking? It's so fascinating. Your approach to this subject. I love it. Go ahead.
I I live, breathe, eat content, if I may. I don't know why, I don't know how, but I'm just purely obsessed with it. So this is the only thing that I know to do well. Coming back to Clive's question, storytelling is very necessary to build authority. As if I have to give you an example of a film, um, how is a character building shown in a film, right? There needs to be some background story of the guy. He has to
Yeah.
lose somewhere. He has to.
Yeah.
Why would a person cheer for a random person off a screen,
Right.
right? They do not relate with it. They don't know him. He's not their son, daughter, or whatever that is, right? There needs to be a story attached to it. What does he stand for? Where does he come from? What is he fighting with? What is the conflict he's going through? Like Elon Musk, again, he's a good story, right? Once in a point, that person was struggling to keep both of his companies alive, SpaceX and Tesla. And we have seen the interviews from that period. He was seen crying about it because the heroes that he was following were not very appreciative of what SpaceX was trying to do, right? And that's the time when people saw him lose, saw
For
him take a
for
punch.
for
Yeah,
like 2 years, didn't he sleep under his desk like he never left the office? I know the interviews
yeah,
you're talking
yeah,
about, but wasn't that during that time?
yeah. Correct.
Crazy, man. That was
Exactly.
amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. So now you saw something, right? When I talked about Elon as well, and you've seen the interview yourself. It is incredible the amount of pain that person has gone through to keep both of these projects alive. Because we understand that as humans, we have some limitations. We have our own personal desires, we have some limitations, we have some commitments, and we have to adhere to it eventually. Some things will work out, some things will not. But the people who are reluctant to say that I've lost, or put a foot down, are the ones that we cheer loud out loud for, because we were not able to do that, right? So coming back to Elon's example, that person is struggling. He's seen crying on the TV. In fact, in the time of building PayPal as well, he was with his brothers sitting, living in a house, coding throughout the night, sleeping, this, that, whatever. So it is all a story. It tells you about the kind of resilience and obsession that person has to protect what he believes in, right? And when he wins, all of us are goddamn cheering out loud for him because we sort of had an empathy towards him when he was losing, and everyone is just stunned because it's the magic, right? What he's built. So all of us are cheering for that, right? And then same again, coming back to storytelling, whatever that is. Movies. Every time you see a person on the screen going through a conflict, um, being in a problem or whatever that is, it forms a story for you. It tells you something about the person, and that is why, again, coming to the authority part of it, if there is no story to it, if there is no rationale to it, why is this guy doing it? What's the why of it? What's why is the what do you call it, the innate question of something that makes you say कि he's the authority in this thing? Because let's say if you are someone who struggled with cerebral palsy, and or you saw
Right.
someone struggle with it, and you have now developed a device with it, right? That's a story. And now I consider you to be an authority because you're going to give your lifetime to solve that problem, right? In companies. So in authority as well, story is very important. Why are you doing this? Why should you give an F about what you're trying to do over here? Because I have a lot of time, effort, and investment going into either seeing, consuming, or buying what you're doing, right? So storytelling plays a very integral role in saying, I consider you an authority because this, that, whatever happened in the past. And I think a lot of people who are considered authority are being followed by, again, the same 10,000 people for a very long time, and it is us who are discovering them at a later stage because those 10,000 people were shouting aloud from their terraces. Hey, this guy is incredible. He's done something incredible. And then you're like, hey, who are you talking about? And then we go on platforms and everything and find about them. But those 10,000 people have been witnessing their journey right from scratch, and they really appreciate it. And also, one very good hack in this is, if you get influencers to become your consumer, then you won the race. So let's say if Elon Musk is an influencer because he is being heard by a lot of people, can you influence his decision? Can you have his mind share, right? Can he be considering you an authority into something? And that automatically puts you in a place because of the association, and because of something like, there are a bunch of celebrities wearing a technology like Whoop in their hands, right? There is not a marketing going on in the face marketing or whatever that is. It is people organically seeing, hey, what are these rich influential people wearing on their hands, right? So that is what drives attention, and that is what drives saying, hey, if this person is wearing it, if this person is consuming it, it must be right because I trust this person, or I admire this person. So that's about it, honestly.
What about on a little bit of a shift? The whole organic. I trust this person. You know,
Yeah,
the constant 10,000 followers. That core is critical, and they're doing that marketing.
yeah,
On top of that, we also know things like SEO. I'm curious about this
yeah.
because I'm actually looking at LDO as well. Um,
Hmm.
and so uh, John's, is it John? Johan?
Yes.
Okay. Is SEO still critical for authority in 2026? So explain the difference between the two, because you know LDO, right? There's a different approach that they're
Yeah.
taking, but they're both powered for keywords, searches, that kind of stuff. Let's talk about that for a second too,
Yeah.
can we?
Yeah. Yeah. So search engine optimization is basically a way to get discovered on the platform, right? Earlier in the day, it was a lot of hassle because there was not a lot of information to the internet about what people are consuming, what this particular video entails. We had not really worked on that particular technology. But today, even if it's an Instagram reel, it's being transcribed into English or any other language, and it is being understood by an AI that what does this video entail. and they then go and recommend it to a very specific user, because a platform like Meta, a platform like Google, they have a lot of information about you as an individual, and they're
Right.
using that particular information and connecting it whatever the content the video has to offer. I'll be very honest, I honestly think SEO is dead. There is nothing like SEO anymore. SEO was for the reason to get discovered. But is discovery a challenge in 2026? No. Especially on the mainstream platforms, I'll be very honest with you. On mainstream platforms, using a hashtag on Instagram, using tags on YouTube do not matter. And in fact, if you go in YouTube studio section, they show you that, they're not really relevant until unless people are getting your name wrong or whatever that is, right? So
Hmm.
discovery is not really a problem. Even if you upload a video with just saying untitled, and you have a white screen maybe as your thumbnail or whatever, if the algorithm understands what the kind of conversation we are having and it recommends to a viewer, and if they click on it and if they watch it for a longer period, YouTube says, hey, I don't care if it does not have tags or whatever it is. The most important metric for me, which is watch time, it is getting solved for. People are giving it people seem to have a higher rate of rate of attention, return on attention. So that is just what creators need to solve for. Is it something that solves for return on their attention? Then SEO does not matter. Things do not matter. Of course, it is good when people are searching out for it and everything. And you need to maintain a hygiene as a brand. कि, hey, this is the kind of format of title we follow or thumbnail we follow. So every time we come on someone's YouTube homepage, they know, hey, who is it? Even if I do not let's say if I put a hand on the Coca-Cola's logo from a Coke bottle, can you still know it's a Coke bottle? Yes, you can, because of the color, because of the shape or whatever that is. So that is what title, the format of the title or the format of the thumbnails and everything act as. So is
Okay.
critical? No way, it's critical, and in my opinion, it is dead. Honestly,
So are there
yeah,
other other ones that have like I mentioned LDO, which I've heard a little bit about recently,
yeah,
and is that, I mean, you've got to get some ability to be able to grow by being found, and not necessarily just by the people who are
yeah,
already your subscribers telling other people. You've got to
yeah,
have both, right? So what is the
yeah.
thing now today?
All right. So LDO, GEO, which is really optimizing for the new age search, which is happening on your chat GPTs of the world, Perplexities, Claude, and all of these platforms. It is essentially to say, ki, hey, can we, let's take a website, let's take a case study of a brand. If I'm a brand who wants to educate consumers about a certain topic, let's take coffee. Okay. I'm a coffee brand. I'm coming in with a specialty coffee. And if people are searching questions about, coffee, specialty coffee on GPT, and at the end of the day, Chat GPT is trained from the information available on the internet. So can I go and influence that information on the internet? Can I write more blogs about it? Can I write more how-tos question? So if someone is searching how to grind coffee in 3 simple steps, or how to grind coffee in 5 minutes, whatever that is, right? You identify those questions from those search platforms, or whatever the search volumes is that you can see on Google Trends kind of a platform, and you create a blog content out of it, and that gets recommended to something like a chat GPT or whatever. But again, coming back to the same point, it is about the content, not really any hashtags or whatever. So if I may, all of the content, either video, either a reel, either a TikTok, all of them are getting transcribed by all of these AI platforms into written
Right.
text. So they are turning that video into text and saying, hey, this is what this video says. So someone asked me this particular question, let's refer them this video, right? And it is not necessarily because of the hashtag you've used. It is because of the kind of words you've used in your video. So if I need to say this, I'll be like, if there are some keywords that people are looking out for, can I include that in my video instead of adding it into description or title? Because that is a bit irrelevant at the moment. can I add that in the video, because my video is something that is get being transcribed, as I gave you an example of the blog. So can I have those how to questions in the blog itself? So the first time GBD is going and they're like, how to brew coffee XYZ, I'm the first result who comes in and I'm being recommended as an answer. And again, the same thing that we talked about authority. If someone is trying to learn all things about coffee from my platform, it is
Yeah.
eventually a matter of time that they come to my platform and buy products because they think I'm really good at this. I know my shit.
All right. So so it's the words that are used in there. Are any of these
Yeah,
platforms like LDO powered and so forth? Are those are just words?
yeah,
Then you're wanting to be consistently uh, found by the words in the video, right? And in the description of the video
yeah.
before the video is done, right?
Correct. Because actually, what is happening is, and why this change has also come up is because platforms understood that people are sort of trying to game the system. They're trying to add these keywords in their thumbnail, in their title, in their description and everything, and they're trying to game the system by getting recommended on the platform. And when the viewer clicks it, they realize, shit, this is a bad video, I don't want to be following through it, I'll close the platform. And at the end, who is losing mainly is the platform, because that is their main bread and butter. Tomorrow you can go and do something else, but the sole objective of the platform is to retain the viewers. And that's why they need to focus on there is no gaming of the system happening. What you're saying is actually the product in there. So they decided, hey, why don't we just transcribe the product itself and recommend, so that there is no gaming of the system happening really.
That is fascinating. Your approach is
Yeah,
so different from everybody I talk to, and it's a really fascinating approach. And
yeah,
basically, it's just getting results back from what you're actually doing, and analyzing those results,
yeah,
and obviously putting the content out there. But instead of playing with other different things, you're using KPI. Let me just ask this question. What KPIs matter most beyond viewers and likes? Time. We talked about time, right?
beyond,
Duration.
I think views and likes do not even matter. Views and likes don't even matter. No one cares how many views you've got. I'll come back to the same question, because I am the believer of that, you need to sort of get people to engage. Engagement does not happen with likes or views, right? Because there would be a lot of people on the platform who, one, either do not want to engage because for XY reasons, either they want to be staying private, they don't want to, because on Instagram, as of now, that if you like something, it is going to be recommended to your friend, the people who you're following, and things like that. That could be one of the reasons. Second thing is that they are probably sort of like a alien user. They're probably just using the platform, consuming the content and leaving, right? So either of things, either of these metrics honestly do not matter, how much views you got because how many likes you got. Because again, once people understood the end outcome for everyone was views at a point in time, they started to game it. And when you try to game something, when you try to templatize it, it always comes to a point where it gets saturated. So if you're trying to game it by doing something extreme in your video, right, you'll get a lot of views. But again, did you win trust? Were you able to sell credit cards to people? Were you able to, which is the end objective, were you able to sort of make someone believe in the bank that you have built out of Omaha, right, out of Texas? Is someone believing that instead of, let's say, putting my money in JP Morgan, can I invest my money in Rodd Duff's bank, because I really trust this person, I trust their philosophy, or they're offering me something superior than what JP Morgan does? So it just boils down to that again, end of the day. Your views and likes do not matter. One of the things that I would personally focus on, especially on a platform like YouTube, is, hey, are people staying for a longer period? And if it's a written platform, maybe, then I'll focus on, are people engaging with the content? Are people sharing this particular piece? Are people going like, hey, Rod, I really agree with what you're saying, but X, Y, Z points, can you please explain it to me? Or they have a conflicting opinion with you, and there is a conversation happening, or they are sharing that particular piece of information because they think this is very smart on their particular platforms, again, that we talked about,
Yeah.
the publicity part of it. Yeah. So
That
I mean,
that
this is honestly the KPIs that I'll be looking at.
Okay, so let's look at this. There's some really interesting questions coming in. We've only got a few more here, but man, it's an hour and a half. Your approach is I
Yeah.
know I keep saying this over and over again, but uh, your approach is fascinating. The guy that you talk about that you worked with that has 10 million
Yeah.
downloads a year or
Subscribers. Yeah.
whatever, subscribers. How long did it take? Did he go from 0 to 10 million in a year? I mean, obviously it's the content, but how did you guys get together and look at? It's just, hey, this is working and this is working. Do you use any? And we're going to get it. Some people want to know about beginning, what to do first and so forth. That's a couple questions down the road here, but do you have a system that analyzes that information as far as duration and click through, that the real only metrics that are important? How do you do that? How do you do that for me? I've hired you. What are we going to do together?
So of course, Sure, wonderful. So all of these platforms, because they want you to be successful as a creator on their platform, so they get more and more engagement, or more watch time for them to recommend you ads, or get subscriptions on their platform. So they provide something called as analytics data through their studios. So when you, as a creator, when you go at your back end, you see some numbers: views, watch time, click through rate. These numbers are being given to you by YouTube or any other platform that you go to, as a matter of fact, because they are processing this information real time to tell you, hey, this worked out very well, right? And YouTube goes to an extent to tell you, hey, this video performed better than the last 8 that you uploaded, so good job on this.
Right.
Or it'll tell you, hey, this really sucked, your audience did not like it, so it did not get a lot of views, and I did not push this particular content to your audience again. So what we do essentially is, we of course, considering the platform and what the main KPI is for us, right? Whatever we are solving for. So as a brand, let's say, again, coming back to the point, if I need to look at, on the video platform, am I getting more amount of duration of views? On the written platform, am I getting people either writing to us personally on emails, or either commenting, engaging, or sharing? Those are the sort of metrics we look for each of the platforms, and then we define what is working and what is not working. How does this benchmarking happen, if you may? This benchmarking happens two ways. One, looking at your own existing content, because if you have developed, let's say, X amount of views or numbers, we can say, hey, Rod, you did not do this right, that's why this video sucked, or this live stream had a bad amount of views, or whatever that is. And let's say if you're someone who's new, then the benchmark that we use is sort of competitive analysis. Okay, if people have been doing similar piece of content in the space, and at the end of the day, you're gonna take just similar pie, right? Because a lot of people are already on social media, so it's not gonna be that, okay, next year there'll be 100 million more people on social media, or a billion more. It's not gonna happen.
Right.
So you're going to take away the share of someone else's pie, right? So you need to understand is what content they are producing and what they are lacking, right? How much engagement are they getting? You take those numbers as benchmarks. So these are the two ways to have benchmarks, and then you sort of analyze based on the benchmark key, what is happening. Are we growing or not? And if we are growing, what is the growth of rate again? So again, we use the growth of rate, same benchmark. I was growing year on year by X%. Has it increased? Because the game of content is like compounding. You cannot be growing subscribers by like 1,000. It is supposed to compound. If this year you grew by like 1,000 subscribers, next year you're supposed to grow by 1,100 at least, right? uh, in a category like content, it should be, in my opinion, it should be 100% maybe, to in some extent, at least in the early days. But if you're saturated or whatever, at least look at 10% of growth rate happening every year. New people are coming in, engaging with your content and stuff like that. So those are the ways you sort of benchmark, analyze the information that these platforms are giving you, and come on to the insights part of it. Hey, benchmark, comparing from the benchmark, the information that we have today tells us that this is wrong, this is right, we should double down on this. So that is how essentially we were working together, we'll be operating.
Wow, that is very, very cool. And I'm guessing Rick here, that we've already addressed this. I mean, the biggest thing that's for beginners, the biggest thing that's important is that building that trust, building that authenticity, because you're of your
Correct.
content. So content or distribution, obviously
Correct.
it's content, right?
Content. Yeah. But
And,
one caveat there, okay?
okay,
Honestly,
okay,
uh, content is king, but distribution is god.
okay. What do you mean
Content
by
is definitely the
distribution?
king. When I say distribution, it's you being seen or present. So distribution is the lux surface area. Distribution, in simple words, is the amount of arrow you get to hit on a target. If you were only available on a platform like LinkedIn, and the thing that we mentioned earlier, right, the feedback loop, you want a higher feedback loop. You want to throw as many arrows as possible to where it is going, what you're doing wrong or what you're doing right? So as Michael
Yeah,
Jordan used to mention, if I'm not wrong, or sorry, it was Kobe Bryant, he used to mention that he used to wake up at 4, practice before everyone has, then practice again, and then practice at the dinner, before the dinner or whatever that is, because it is just one extra practice in a day. But what that ends up doing is it gives him an edge, because he has practiced 365 times more in a year, right? And in a matter of 10 years, he has done 3,650 times more practice than someone else, right?
yeah,
So distribution is just a way for you to hit many targets as possible, because honestly, being in content is like being a doctor. You do not know something for sure. You're assuming based on the past information that you have or what you have seen around, right? So if I know something works from the past, okay, this worked, we're trying something new. Let's be on all the platform, present on all the platforms. Let's speak as the platform wants us to, and what audience consumes, like what their behavior is, understand that, and then go about throwing your arrows, then make your bets. And you're throwing your arrows, and then you realize, oh, this one hit, so this is what we need to look at. Probably people are interested in this out of my piece of content. Probably the audience I was trying to target was this, but maybe my personality is best suited for this audience, so why don't we optimize for this? So what essentially distribution is, it is giving you more arrows, and that is more number of shots at a target, that is more amount of feedback loop. And the higher the feedback loop, the higher the luck surface area, right? You have
yeah.
a lot of opportunity to get lucky, if I may. You have a lot of opportunity for your content to grow, as to if you were doing just one video a month on one platform, right? So yeah, I mean, that is why I say distribution is god, because you can be creating the most amazing piece of content there is on the internet, but if
Right.
it is not being distributed or discovered, it does not matter.
Right.
No one
It's like
cares. Yeah.
it's like if nobody's in the woods in a tree falls, can you actually hear the sound? Did it actually make a sound? Right? It didn't exist. Now, building on
Yeah.
that, last question coming up here, and then I've got something for you to read by a guy that asked a question earlier. Randall here. What
Yeah.
what content formats build trust fastest in today's world?
In my opinion, the content that builds trust fastest today, and I think even will going forward in the future, is text content. The world is moving towards video because it is more accessible and easy. But someone going the harder way, spending their time to read your Substack, to read the book you've written, to read your tweets, tells you that they have a higher intent than, let's say, watch opening a video on YouTube, and they're going to engage with you. They're going to learn what you're trying to say instead of just plugging some earbuds while walking, just listening to a podcast activity.
Interesting.
They're
Okay.
they're visually and psychologically paying all their attention to what you're trying to say. And that's why I think Reddit and Substack are these two platforms which are gonna just blow up in 2026. They're underexplored, and all of the world was moving towards doing video because of course it is in short term helping a lot of bigger companies to get more revenue and increase the shareholder value. But what is going to last is the people who are creating content on these written platforms like Reddit, X, Substack, because someone is paying way more attention, is way more diligent about what you're saying on those platforms. So if you had to build trust, and let's say you are operating in a B2B boring space, let's take construction as a space, okay? And Rod is someone who does construction for the last 20 years or whatever, and he wants to sort of cater to his business prospects. So he has to give some amount of value to these business prospects for them to consider you an authority. So you are sending them email through your Substack or whatever that is, and they're reading it out, and they're like, hey, Rod has a lot of information. Rod has a lot of offline access to this information because he has spent 20 years in this business, 40 years in this business. So that is why I think text content will always and always win, even in the future. And that is why you're still seeing authors come in today writing their books and stuff like that.
Interesting. Just to add to that, or add more
Yeah.
of a question to that. X, you said Substack and Reddit. I do Substack 3 days a week, and but I don't do Reddit. Should you do both of those?
Yeah.
Yes.
See, again, the same question of lux surface area. You get more darts at the same shot, right?
Yeah.
But of course, one, it needs to be feasible, and second is how do you integrate into it? Again, there needs to be no template. Let's say Reddit is basically a platform where random anonymous people come in and give their opinion on something, right? So if I had to be someone who wanted to, sort of build an authority, can I have a Reddit page about a very specific topic that we are trying to solve for, right? Ki learning after 40s, if that is my core subject, can I focus on that and create a topic on Reddit and get people involved in those conversations, right? That'll be very authentic. So for brands as well, if they want to focus on how they get relevant on a platform like Reddit or whatever it is, they need to find out what their consumers are actually intrigued about. If I'm a hair care product, can I engage in the conversations of hair care products? And can I take those insights and go and develop my product? Because Reddit, a platform like Reddit, is where people are anonymous and they can say whatever shit that they want. So most likely what they're trying to say is authentic and what they believe in, without any fluff. So again, yeah, if you had to do Reddit, you can do in this way. And Substack, you're doing so you're already ahead in the game.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Hey, this has been an amazing show. We're at an hour and 40 minutes now. Very fast moving here. Why don't you before you read Clive's? I told you he had asked a question earlier. Before you read it, after you're done reading it, why don't you give what do you want to leave as a final point? And can you please type in the excuse me, in the private chat? Can you type in your contact information? You've done podcasts, somebody who's obviously going to be here a minute after the show's over. a month after, a year
Yeah.
after, and they're going to say, "Oh man, I wish I was on there. I would have asked our Adarsh this." And so put that in there.
Sure.
Read that comment, and then final thoughts. I'll put you back in the green room. Let me close this out. I'm freezing my ass. I got to get into the heated section over there, and we'll talk in the green room. Great conversation. A lot of people on today, and they're just loving. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in this content, and I love your approach. You got it in the private chat. Read this, and I'll copy and paste it
Yeah.
over onto the other side.
Definitely, definitely. And thank you so much, Clay, for paying so much attention and being curious about what's happening over here. It's of course a lot of what do you call it, nerdy information being passed on. But thank you so much. So for the ones who aren't seeing Clive's comment, it's thanks for hosting such a high level conversations. And actually, it's a big thanks to Rod, honestly, because he's someone who's paying a lot of attention and diligently looking at the people he wants to bring on the platform and ask them the right questions to give a lot of insights to their viewers eventually. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So that's about it. One of the things, yeah, you asked this, so I'll just complete that thought. The thing that I would want people to be left with is treat content as a human personality. If you all of us have been through school, college, trying to fit in was one of the things, right? We all did. But the new cool is sort of not trying to fit in, not being the person who likes
Wow.
mainstream, because everyone has understood that they have an independent identity, right? Identity is the new cool. So you need to look at, if you were again back in your school, and if you're in those times where identity is the new cool, what is your identity? Why should I hang out with you? What do you stand for? And that is what you need to translate into your content as well. If you stand for something, there would be at least 10 people in this world where there are 8 billion people who'd agree to what you're saying, right? At least 10,000 people, I'm very sure of, right? And that's all you need. People who agree to what you say, debate with you, and sort of, are helping you grow as well. That is the best audience, where you can chat with them, understand what they are trying to achieve, and keep pushing yourself up as well. And there will be definitely a time, Rod, where your audience will outdo you. They'll see more content than you have, because there's so many of them, right? Versus a
Yeah.
single person. And that's the time we realize that we need to outdo ourselves. We need to consume a lot more. I need to go in a lot more depths of streams to give them the insights that they need to either sound smart or to either help them eventually. So yeah, this is one of the things I'd leave people with. Focus on the independent identity, build that. It does not matter if it is likable or not. There would be definitely some people who like it. So don't care about that. Build an independent personality, which is just an extension of you, and just go about content. And you will see incredible results over the period. Honestly.
Great show, man. Great show. Thank you so much. Give everybody a big wave. Bye, and I'll meet you in the green room in a second.
Definitely. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining in.
Awesome show, guys. Awesome show. And I just want to say a little couple of things here. If this conversation resonated with you, even just a little, that's your signal. Because what we talked about today isn't just about content. It's about agency. It's about moving from chasing attention to owning your narrative, right? And that's exactly why Insights and Straight Talk exists. The show is built for people who don't want, just talking points, who don't want outrage. We talked about personality a lot today, who don't want, shallow takes on things, right? We're here to help the great middle class think more clearly, decide more confidently, and build more intentionally, whether that's in business, leadership, technology, or life. So here's how you support this work. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Rodd Duff 1939. That one click does more than you think. It tells the algorithm this kind of matters. Join us on Substack, insightstraighttalk.substack.com. Really, really appreciate that. That's where we go deeper, 3 days a week with essays, reflections, and extended insights you won't hear anywhere else. And you know what? Share this episode, would you? If you know a founder, a leader, or a marketer, or a professional drowning in noise, send this to them. And finally, if you believe in independent media that's not owned by sponsors, not driven by outrage, and not chasing clicks, consider becoming a supporter. That's how we keep this sustainable. That's how we keep it honest. My thanks again to our partners, our sponsors, and every one of you that show up live, asking thoughtful questions and keeping this dialogue alive. This is Insights and Straight Talk. We don't rent attention. We build understanding. Stay through the outro for a little surprise. I'm Rodd Duff on behalf of producer Barbie. We'll see you next time. And you know what? With that, folks, you know what I always say? I'm out of here. Oh, no, I missed it. I almost was out of the studio. I almost kicked myself out of my own damn building. But I'm out of here.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.